Let's Talk Small Business, the real talk, no BS podcast for business owners and entrepreneurs who want to grow and actually enjoy the ride. I'm Mitchell Wilson. Let's get into it. Today on the podcast, I have with me Christine Blosdale. She is the expert authority coach. She is an award-winning media personality and broadcaster, the number one best-selling author, or a number one best-selling author 5 times over, I believe. And of course, she's worked with a number of global giants, including the likes of Microsoft. Christine, welcome, and let's talk small business.
Thank you so much, Mitchell. I'm happy to be here. My favorite subject.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. Now, we better get this clear. How do you, as an authority expert, as the authority coach, how do you help people? What's this all about?
Yes. Put it simply is I help overwhelmed business owners, and that can be an author. It could be a coach. I have a lot of coaches as clients. It can be anyone who's a service provider. I help them, if they're overwhelmed, I help them get seen, get trusted, and get paid for what they already know. And so that can be, taking a look at their brand. If they don't have a solid brand set up, we set it up for them. Looking at their website, looking at their communication, how they put their messaging out into the world so that people are not confused and that they can attract their dream clients. But we got to be really clear on what it is that we do. And as entrepreneurs, sometimes that's a little hard. People forget about that, but it's really important.
Hey, well, I must say, I've got to be looking forward to this chat today because I'm in that category. I'm a business coach. I help businesses with their sales, their systems, and their strategies. So this will fit nicely, I guess, and
Perfect.
I could probably learn a thing or two from you.
You get a free session.
Yeah, too right. Okay, what is it? And I know there's lots, but let's. What is one of the most common things that people are not doing that business owners or like you said, coaches and the rest, what are they not doing and they should be?
Well, there's a quite a few, and there's like the pillar of, I think there's 3 major things that I see is that people are not taking themselves, their business as a brand, and that the brand is not necessarily that system or that service, but the brand is them. It's you. So for me, my brand is me. It's my energy. It's my vibe. It's the way I work. It's how I show up, all of those things, right? It's all my expertise and all my experience, but my brand is me. And then all the other stuff that I have under that umbrella, my coaching programs, my signature program, my 90-day accelerator program, all of that falls underneath my umbrella. But really what people are buying when they book time with me and they want me to work with them, they're buying me and my experience. So as entrepreneurs and as coaches, we need to really remember that we are the brand. That said, another thing is that people are not doing, some of my clients have done this, and I applaud them, is to have a really good headshot. Because again, you're the brand. So you want to have a professional headshot that shows the world who you are. In that one golden image, I called it the money shot, right? That's the one that opens the doors. The picture that I have that I've used now for a few years is a picture of me where I'm wearing headphones. I have a mic in front of me. You can't even see my eyes. In the picture, my mouth is open. It looks like I'm laughing or I'm enjoying.
I see the personality through the picture. Yeah.
Through that image, you can tell that I'm not some stodgy, like very corporate in a suit, very serious person. I have joy coming out of that photo. And that photo I use in my media kit. I use on my business cards where I actually have the photo on there. I use it on my website, social media. That photo has opened doors so often because it's exemplary. It tells people already a little bit about me without them even having to read my bio or look at my website, right? So that's number 2, okay? That's of importance. The other thing is, and this is a big one, we need to, as coaches and entrepreneurs, we need to make sure that we are offering the services that we're offering, the solution that we're offering to people is actually what they need and want, not just what we want to sell. And I know that sounds like, it's like, well, of course, that sounds, that's an obvious thing. But you don't understand is a lot of coaches, they say, well, I'm really good at this. So that's what I'm pushing. That's what I'm selling. And they're not listening to their ideal client and what they actually want. I do the analogy of a stapler, right? And we tend to, as service providers, coaches, we tend to say, this is the, on our social media, we're putting pictures of this stapler. And this stapler is amazing. It does all these amazing things like staple papers. And it's black. It's available in black, white, or red. It's and for the month of February, it's 50% off. Or if you buy one, I'll give you another.
They're listing all the features, sort of thing. Yeah.
They're listing all the features, but then their actual potential clients don't want or need a stapler. They just want a sandwich, right? Or they want something else. But we're so dedicated to that one thing. So really sometimes it'll take another coach or a mentor to look at your services and things that you're offering and to pull back and say, this is not what your target audience actually needs and wants. So is it good that you have that stapler? Yes. Once they come into your house, once they come into your world and you want to say, oh, by the way, did you need a stapler? That's fine. But if all of your marketing and everything is around something that your clients really don't need and want, it's a waste of time and energy and money. So it's really, you have to really niche down to what it is that they want. I found, during COVID, man, my bread and butter was helping people create branded business podcasts, showing them everything, creating the cover art, going over the legal stuff, showing them how to record, how to edit, how to publish, how to market it. And that was really good back in the days of COVID. Remember, everybody was at home and people were having to create their own business and market, right? So I was very busy doing that. Now, after COVID, I noticed I kept trying to push that service, right? In 30 days or less, I'll help you create a podcast. It'll be great, blah, blah, blah. But what I found is that not everybody wanted a podcast or had the ability, because it's a bit of work. It's a little bit of work, right? As you know. So what I was doing is I kept pushing something that the market didn't want or need. And then when I pulled back and I realized that most of the people that I work with, man, they got a crappy website. They need help on that website with the messaging. They need to get booked on podcast shows, not to host their own, but to be a guest on theirs. They need help with their marketing, with their branding. So then I pulled back and I said, this is what I'm going to focus in on. Helping people create their expert authority so they can get booked and they can be trusted and they can get paid. That's when the lights went on and my inbox started filling up with people, because then I could help them in a bunch of different ways. Can I help them create a podcast? Yes, absolutely. It's one of my tools in my toolbox, but it's not the main thing that I push and then I tell people that I'm good at.
Okay. So you mentioned podcasting before. We're on a podcast right now. You're a podcast host. You've got your own show. You're here today as well.
Yes.
In today's day and age, how would you rate that as a marketing strategy?
Brilliant. It's brilliant. It's brilliant because it does so many different things. It ticks all these different boxes. If you're a guest if you're able to create a media kit and a bio that is stunning, in other words, it tells the podcast host, if you have me on the show, your audience is going to get this, right? Or you will get this. It's great. It's so good for marketing because, number one, it helps train you on how to speak, because you're asked these important questions that you need to come up with. And you might have some signature stories that you want to talk about. Oh, that's great. But it is great because it does give you that practice of speaking, right? That's number one. Number two, SEO and Ask Engine, AEO, ChatGPT-O goes through the roof, because you're a guest on the show. Once that show is published, the host is putting your name out there with your website and your title, and it's putting it up. Usually they put it up on Spotify and YouTube and Apple Podcasts. So your name, when you type in your name in ChatGPT or Google, it's going to come up with all of these different references for all the different podcast shows that you've been on. So that helps. You can also repurpose that content. If I say something to you today, Mitchell, that's so funny and charming and wonderful, once the show is published, I can ask you, I can say, hey, can I take a clip from our interview that we did and put it up on my social media? Of course, Most hosts say yes.
The answer is yes. Yeah.
Yeah, promote the show. So I could put that on social media and I have content already created. It's so amazing what you can do with your appearances. You can also take the words that you say and don't just take the transcript, but you can use software, AI software, to turn what you're saying into an enjoyable blog or newsletter. There's all these different things you can do, but it's also something that doesn't cost you a dime. It does not cost you a penny in order to get booked on a show. So
it's really interesting because
it's worth it.
From my mind, like someone can, for instance, start a YouTube channel and they might not necessarily be the expert or even any good at what they're talking about. Doesn't matter what the subject is. But the mere fact that they are there, people are listening and watching them, they sort of immediately become the default expert in that area, don't they?
Yes, because they're showing up. They're showing up especially in video. When you're talking about video, this is why with my clients I always say it's one thing to write great blogs and articles and things like that, but if you show up in video, people get to see you. They get to hear you. They get to look at your eyes. They get to get a very good feeling for you. And we're visual creatures. So video is a wonderful way to become not intimate, but, become more intimate with potential clients and customers. And I've gotten just this last week from a show that I did that's on YouTube, and it's about YouTube creators. I had 3 people who just listened to the show or watched it on YouTube, and they reached out to me and booked a strategy session. Now that's huge because I'm able to reach an audience I could not normally reach. And that host of that podcast and that YouTube channel, they're getting hits and likes because I'm talking about something of interest to their audience. But it's a wonderful way. It really is. It's a clever, wonderful way. And then the more you get into, if you're a creator on YouTube, the more you get into editing and knowing what things to do, then your success can go up even more and more. But then that just takes a little bit of the learning. You can YouTube it.
I'm going to come back to one thing you mentioned before about that personal brand. And obviously we're talking now directly to those content creators, to those solopreneurs, everyone working by themselves. What about businesses that may have a team behind them? Should they also have a personal person at the front of that brand?
It depends on the business. It depends on the business. If it's like, if it's an accounting firm, let's say, it's usually the name of that accounting firm. That's the focus, right? That's the brand. And a lot of times it's built on a founder or a CEO, right? So there's already going to be a vibe or an energy imprint based on that. But if you have, here's an example. I worked at a radio station for 20 years in Los Angeles. Very creative people, but it was a historically important radio station because it's been around for like 60 years. It was very much a pacifist, started off by a pacifist. So it was all very, very much progressive politics, anti-war, type group and vibe. And in the marketing, we made sure in the marketing of that radio station that we always paid homage to those roots. We may have been in the modern times, but we try to make sure we paid homage to that, ask questions, question authority. It's okay. It's healthy. So just depending on the brand, depending on what the business is, you do want to have something that you can fall back on. We're not the Golden Arches. We're not McDonald's like that per se. So it's not so much about the logo. When you're talking about a team or an organization, it's more about the feeling that you get. And developing that trustworthiness is critical if you want people to give you their money.
Love it.
Yeah.
Is podcasting the new radio? You come from radio background. You're in podcasting now.
Well, remember that song, did video kill the radio star or something like that? Right? Well, did podcasting kill radio? Not by itself, but podcasting contributed to the downfall of radio. You'd have to have advertising teams for commercial radio. Okay. You'd have to have advertising teams. It was all in selling ad space, just like in television, right? It was all about the advertising. Well, now you have on-demand programming like Netflix, right? You still pay for that, but you choose what you want. And then with YouTube and TikTok and all these, you can Go find the content that you want, the creators that you like, the programming, so to speak, the entertainment that you want. It's not something that you have to necessarily even pay for anymore. And podcasting really broke that open because you were able to have interview style shows. You were able to have long format programming. In other words, a host could go on. Look at Joe Rogan. He goes on for like 3 hours, right? So you didn't have to have a huge budget. Before, you couldn't even think of having a radio show or a station, right? It would cost you millions of dollars. And even to get onto a show to talk, it would be very difficult. Now, anybody with a microphone and a decent computer has the ability to do that. And the same thing with our phones. You can just have a smartphone and
I got to admit,
get out there.
Back in the day, I spent truckloads on radio advertising. We're talking many years ago in business. I wouldn't do that today, though.
No, there's no, because there's fewer listeners, number one, right? The numbers have just gone down. And it's just not worth it. You could take that money and use it, in much wiser ways. I think it's all about, that idea of boots on the ground. If you're a business owner, you want to be seen and heard. I have a thing that's on my website on every page at the very bottom. It says, remember this, if you're not seen and heard, you're not hired. Right? And in the old days, you had to have a lot of money to be seen and heard. That's not true today, but there's a lot more people out there trying to be seen and heard. So you just need to be authentic, and you need to be as you can be to stand out a bit from the crowd. But now there's all these different places you can be. I see people on TikTok. My goodness, just having a TikTok channel and videos on how to feed a family of 4 for $20 a day. That person is doing really well, right? And then they can go on and they can write a book from that. And all kinds of different things.
But and just to be clear, you could be sitting there and you're a gardener. This translates. You can actually be the expert in that. I'm going to call you. Do my garden's great. Give me a window cleaner. You can be
called the grass guy.
Yeah.
And have fun with it. No, not that kind of grass, man. There's so many different things. I have a client who's actually, she studied for a very long time the brain and the functions of the brain. And her specialty is both phobias and habits, helping people break those, and also sleep. She's like, sleep is the most important thing for your brain. So we were trying to come up with a title for her. So like myself, I'm the expert authority coach, right? And I've got other clients that I help come up with their title so that they're memorable. They're not just Susie Smith, right? But this particular Helen, this particular client of mine, it wasn't so much about the name she wasn't the brand like that, but it was what she did. And so we came up with, and she's very, very empathic, loving, she would do a session and if somebody couldn't afford it, she'd go, oh, it's okay. She's to her detriment sometimes, but just a caring, loving person, but super smart when it comes to the brain. So we came up with the title of The Brain Coach Who Cares. The Brain Coach Who Cares tells you that she knows a lot about the brain, but it's not just the brain coach, because that people go, what is that? But she's the brain coach who cares, which means that she's got a heart the size of Texas, right? A genuinely kind, loving person. So just in that title alone, it already tells you a bit about her character. So that's what we want to do with our brand, is we want to bring out who we are, right? In something of what we call ourselves, what our title is. A lot of times business coaches, that's the thing. There's a lot of business coaches. So how do we step outside of that business coach name and be a little bit different?
Okay. Now, one thing I'm picking up on, you're talking about brand, you're talking about personality with those photos, naming, and all the rest.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, look, I can tick those boxes. No worries in terms of personality, happy to stand up and be in front of people. In saying that, what about those people that maybe have that imposter syndrome, those people that are afraid to post anything online? What do you say to those people?
I get a lot of them. That's why they come to me, especially with imposter syndrome. Look, and so many people are affected by imposter syndrome. So first of all, it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to go, oh, I feel like such a loser. No, don't. Imposter syndrome affects, and get this, it really mostly affects people who are high achievers. So those people who study, who get extra credentials, who work really hard at their craft, they're the ones that suffer from imposter syndrome the most. And it's usually when we're asked to stretch, when we're asked to do something that's a little uncomfortable or we've never done it before. And we're worried that prehistoric mind of ours, that cave person mentality, is that we're worried about getting kicked out of the cave. What if people laugh at me? What are people going to think about me? Will I look stupid? Or, and this happens a lot of times with women, they'll say, I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm too that. And how I deal with this with my clients is I sit them down. This is usually like in our first session together. I'll sit them down if I feel that that's what's happening, or they'll flat out say, I have imposter syndrome. I'll say, listen, it's not about you. Even though the brand and the business and what we're doing, the marketing is about you, it's not about you. It really isn't. It's about the people that you say you want to serve and help. So with my client, who's the brain coach who cares, if she suffered from imposter syndrome to the point where she didn't want to do video, she didn't want to go on speaking things, she didn't want to go on podcasts because she's shy, then I would say, think about all the people that are suffering with phobias and habits that are really destroying their lives, who are quite depressed and filled with anxiety because they can't sleep. They're not going to hear your solutions. They're not going to get help. So think of all those people that you're not helping. And also, what if they go to somebody else who's not as qualified as you? That's dangerous.
It was just this morning, flicked through the news. I didn't click on it, but I did see one of the headlines. There was someone that was in a Westfield shopping mall, and they were swimming in not a pool, a decoration, some kind of fountain there. It was like a fountain sort of thing. They were swimming in it. And they took a photo and put it on social media. And there were some people that were looking up and some people just walking by. And the caption was, nobody cares. They were there and they're budgie smugglers doing it. And, yeah, so it was just really interesting. It sort of a little bit clicked there that
we're our own worst critic. And it just comes down to we're afraid of getting kicked out of the cave because we're going to be eaten by a big dinosaur. That's how primitive it is. And it can also be something that maybe even as a child, you were told something. So maybe a kid said something flippantly on the playground and it stuck with you. And even though you've grown up and you've gone to university and you're very accomplished in what you've done, that little kid, that little Christine or that little Mitchell who heard those hurtful words, or from somebody who was in a position of authority, maybe it was a teacher or a parent, and you heard those words, that is embedded in our subconscious. So we may think, hey, I'm showing up and I did all my studies. I know my stuff. But subconsciously, you're thinking about what that kid said to you or what your parents said or that school teacher said. And so that's why I like to focus my attention on the people that I serve. If I don't show up, they don't get the help that they need. And that's the most important thing. You're doing it for a reason. Why are you doing it? Why are you a coach? What's the purpose? What's the reason? If it's just to make money, you're not going to last.
Oh, exactly. And to be honest, I do what I do because I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
To be fair, I do it for free.
Yeah.
I love talking business.
But
love doing it.
But don't do it for free.
I don't. If you're good at something, never do it for free.
That's right.
Okay, business up. Now, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at your website, Christine, and I see a little bit of a headline, the top 10 things you need to do to promote your business.
Yes.
Why don't you give us a little sample about what we got?
That's my lead magnet. That's one of my free offers. Yes, and people, if you want that, you can actually get it. It's not a PDF or anything like that. It's actually a short video, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. It's a video of me going through 10 things that you can do right now to promote your business. Absolutely. Many of them are free. Some of them, they may be low cost if you wanted to do them. But that's on my website, expertauthoritycoach.com. At the very top, there's a banner. And a few of them, I won't give you all of them.
No, let's get a little bit of a sample, maybe 3 or so.
But a few of them. I think one thing that's really important is to have a website that actually says what the heck you do. And you'd be shocked. you think that'd be like, of course that's a no-brainer. No, I've gone to people's websites and I don't, and still even looking at it and reading everything I can read, it doesn't tell me what it is that they do, or they put lots of copy and it's still very confusing, right? You want to be clear. So crystal clear is really important. If you can be as crystal clear as you can on your website, I think that's brilliant. Another thing is, I think, let's see, on one of them that's important is to take the content that you are creating, find your niche. In other words, what you love doing, right? So some people really love writing. Other people really love doing videos. Okay. Whatever it is, to get the word out about what you do and your expertise, focus in on that particular avenue. Okay. If it's creating videos, if it's writing blogs, whatever it is, and really dive into it. Do as much of that as you can. Focus on that if you have to. Okay. That and getting it out there in the world, getting seen and heard, is going to help you a lot. The other thing is, it used to be Google yourself to see what comes up. Now chat GPT yourself.
I haven't done that, actually. We'll have to do that
Yeah,
soon.
you got to chat GPT. And if your name is something that's common, that's somewhat common, put your name and then maybe put what it is that you are. So if you're Mitchell Wilson, I would put Mitchell Wilson coach or Mitchell Wilson business coach and see what comes up. You'd be amazed.
Should we do this now live? You keep on talking, I'll do that. We'll
do it. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it, because that's more and more people are using ChatGPT as opposed to Google, right? So you want to be able to see. You want to see what you're doing. The other thing is if you have an opportunity to be a guest on a podcast, if you have an opportunity to speak at a business chamber or a networking event, or somebody asks you to come and be a panel expert, make sure you have a strategy. Okay. A strategy is something can be as simple as making sure that you tell people to go to your website, or making sure you tell people that you have a special offer, or that you have a free discovery call. Those things are really important. If not, if you don't have a strategy and stick to it, what happens is you get this great opportunity. You show up, you go down Storyland Lane and you talk about fun things and all that. And then all of a sudden the time is over and you did not get to mention your website or do anything about what you actually do. So you want to have the strategy in place before you actually do those speaking.
And you've been skilled today. You've already snuck that one in already.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, we'll do it again at the end, of course. But
did you chat GPT yourself?
I have. It's in front of me now.
What does it say?
Oh my gosh, there's quite a lot. Who he is. He's an entrepreneur and a business coach. Best known as the founder and CEO of Coachbirds, a business coaching growth strategy brand. Works with service-based businesses and owners of small and medium enterprises to help them grow, scale, and get clarity. It says what I do, figure out the next steps and strategic moves. And here you go. It says clients often start with a free discovery or breakthrough session to help map out their practical steps. I'm amazed that that's got that all awesome. So that's just general ChatGPT. There is a background. Mitchell built and sold multiple successful businesses across different industries. Hands-on experience. Yeah.
That's good.
You have a good. It's showing up.
You have a good digital footprint, and most importantly, you've made it across the barrier into ChatGPT land. Okay, it's kind of like, it's not like being in Wikipedia, but it's it's still really important, because that's how people are doing their searches. That's how they're using ChatGPT quite in that way. I use ChatGPT a lot, but I use it mostly to take what I've already created. I always tell people, please do not allow ChatGPT to write your books or to write your bio for you. You create something, you create the content, and then ask it to take a look at it and maybe enhance it in some way, or to say, my target audience is this. Can you put in keywords in there, in what I've provided you? Put in some keywords that my ideal client will connect with, and they'll want to read more. They want to learn more about what I'm doing. So use it to enhance what you are, your brand and your copy, but don't allow it to create it, because it'll sound ChatGPT-ish anyway.
And of course, AI is becoming so apparent that even videos, I mean, are we real? I will say we are, but
I'm real. Yes, it is. It's amazing what's happening now. It's never going to replace the human, the human spirit and all of I myself and you yourself, we are showing up because we're a combination of all of the things that we've learned throughout our lives as children, as teenagers, as, awkward young adults. All those things are part of who we are. It's who we're made up of, right? And also our parents and the cultures that we grew up in. Now, ChatGPT doesn't have a culture that it's grown up in. It doesn't have a neighborhood, doesn't have multicultural influences, so to speak. Didn't grow up listening to, I listened to R&B and soul music when I was young. Other people were listening to like Led Zeppelin, and I was like listening to disco and and soul music. But that's what makes me unique, right? All those experiences, my days at AOL, my days at a radio station. So for you, you have your own experiences that make you truly unique. So
let me
AI
hear.
is never going to replicate that.
Yeah, you've told us a little bit about what you can do and some really good tips here. So your uniqueness that's sort of sneaking on through there. I'm just really interested in your background and how you've ended up where you are today as the authority coach.
Yes. So that's several years. I was, like I said before, I was in radio and broadcasting for 20 years at a radio station in Los Angeles. I got to interview some amazing people, beautiful, gorgeous people. And prior to working at the radio station, I was a producer, a writer, and then I became a host and a fundraiser and all that good stuff. But prior to that, I was working for America Online, and then I went into my Microsoft, MSN. But America Online, back in the day, that's all we had was AOL. We did not have YouTube. We didn't have TikToks. We didn't have Facebook. We had none of that. We had America Online, and I was very lucky to have a column. It was a daily column. It's called the Daily Fix. Very popular. It was one of the most popular places in America Online in their entertainment channel. And I got to write and I wrote through a character. I didn't write through myself. I wrote through a cartoon character, but it really helped skill me down to the point of using language in such a way that I could convey very big messages and themes, but in a very simple way. It's almost like a Shrekifying content, right? So that young people could enjoy it, but older people could also enjoy it as well. And get the little hidden innuendos and things like that. So I think that really prepared me. But I always wanted to be a teacher. That's why I became a coach. I always wanted to be a teacher.
My wife's a teacher. She loves it most days.
Teachers are like amazing.
They are amazing.
I didn't have the patience to be an actual teacher. And I saw how much they were paying teachers. And I was like,
yeah, they don't do it for the money. Yeah.
No. But I love seeing that the light bulbs go off and the, people going, I can do that? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. No, so I started that way through radio, America Online. And I found myself after so many years in radio, I'd interview someone. And as I'm speaking to them, I'm thinking in my head, oh my goodness, they really need to write a book, right? If they did this with their business, they would get this. And so I would talk to them after the interview. I talked to them after I spoke with them. And I said, looking at what you've got, have you ever thought about doing this or that? Or maybe on your website doing this? And they were like, oh my gosh, so many people, they just said, can I hire you to help me with my business? And I was like, sure. So that's how I started.
That's where it kicked off.
That's where it kicked off.
So what's working right now in your business?
Really dealing with that imposter syndrome thing is really important. I think it holds back a lot of greatness and a lot of people who are very talented. So I have quite a few clients that come to me for that. But really what it is I've got a lot of people are coming to me. They've got a business. They got maybe a coaching business. And it's just not connecting. The messaging is just not connecting with their ideal clients. And so there's something amiss. And so I sit down and work with them on that. I'll look at their website. I'll look a bit at their social media. The social media is actually not as important as you would think it is. What's important is how clear they are in their messaging and how easy it is for people to book time with them and to understand what it is they offer. If you offer 8,000 things on your website, it's too confusing and people drop out. So it needs to be really succinct and very simple and easy to understand so that people get a solid understanding of like, right, if I want to work with him, this is what I get. It's like
I'll be the first to put my hand up that my personal social media for business, personally, it's not one of my strong points, let's say. Happy to work with anyone else, but myself, that is something that needs to kind of be outsourced.
Well, and your social media, maybe on certain social media, it may not be where your clients are. You see, you're going directly to them with your own podcast too. With your own podcast, you have the ability to interview people like myself to get new ideas and concepts, but also you have a platform. So you can speak directly to the listeners. You could have it so that there's no guest on the show. It's just you speaking directly to the listener. And that's powerful. That's really, really powerful. And I encourage you to do that from time to time.
We'll put that on the list.
Yes.
Really interested, as a business owner yourself, how do you structure your week and stay productive and sane at the same time?
I'm constantly creating. So I find that I really look forward to Mondays. The thing is most of my clients are in the US. So Mondays are a little slow because it's a Sunday there. So it's my day to kind of catch up and do the stuff, my personal things. I have 5 books already out, but I'm working on my 6th book, and that's taking quite a bit of time for me right now. But I do that on my off time, so to speak, where I can actually sit down and read. I'm proofreading the book right now before I release it. So I like to stay busy.
I'm curious. Are you doing that book because you love writing the book and want to share that info, or is business reasons prompting you to do this?
Well, it's a bit of both. It's mostly because I love creating. If I have a lull between the books that I've been publishing, right? If it's too long, I start to get a little antsy, and I'm like, I need to put something out. But in this book, I'm actually taking my own advice, right? I've written 5 books. 4 of them were all about podcasting, how to create a podcast, how to be a guest on podcasts. And then the last one that's out there now is the social media and branding survival guide. And that book is for the general entrepreneur coach, talking about some social media tips and strategies and branding tips and things like that. But the one that I'm working on now, which is finally, I listened to my own advice. I'm taking my title and I'm putting my title in the book and realizing that the book is going to, not only is it going to be a paperback book and a Kindle, but then it can be a program. It can be a course. It can be, all different kinds of things. So that's the next one. It's called the Expert Authority Code. How to be seen, trusted, and paid for what you know. And so the Expert Authority Code will have the ability to have the Expert Authority Code workbook and the guide and the, all these different things. But I needed to put the Expert Authority in there because it's a term that's being thrown around a little bit more now. And I'm lucky that I was able just to do that little trademark thing. I think it's mostly because I do love creating. They're like little babies. I'm birthing little babies when I do a book. Right. And they all have their own little personality and character. But this one's my real baby. This is my heart. So
well, I'll tell you what, I will give you a big ups and really say congrats for actually practicing what you preach and, showing up on other people's podcasts, because that's what you're telling others to do. And you actually do it, living proof. So yes. It's been such a pleasure. I've learned a lot. We know that ChatGPT knows who I am, so that's great. Now, before you go, one more time, people are sort of into this. Where are they going to find you?
Yes. They can go to expertauthoritycoach.com, and I challenge them, especially if they are feeling a little nervous or shy about going forward, to book a free strategy call with me. It's all over that website. It says book a free consultation, book a free strategy session. Book that time with me. It's quite a bit. It's 30 minutes that we sit together and you tell me about what it is that you're doing, and I'll give you my suggestions and tell you where I think I would do if I were you. And then you can decide, hopefully that'll give you enough confidence to move forward. Because if you're passionate about what you do and you are helping people, it's up to you, but you really need to step into that so that people can get the benefit of the work and your wisdom. That's my whole thing, is helping people do that. So go to my website, and if you want to book that free call, you can do that super easy.
I love it. Thanks for being on. This has been Let's
you,
Talk
Mitchell.
Small Business. I'll see you again.
I hope so. Thank you, Mitchell, so much.
Let's Talk Small Business. I appreciate you tuning in. If you got value, hit subscribe, like, or drop a comment. It spreads the word and might just help another legend get their breakthrough.